Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. Today, I come to you with the Shakespeare Edition of the Wear a Mask tag, started by Brian at Bookish. He started the tag to emphasize how essential it is to wear a mask during the pandemic. I've been thrilled at the discussion about the importance of masks that Brian's tag has inspired. I was especially moved by Sonia's video on her channel, An Enthusiastic Reader. The two of them and many of the other folks who've already done this tag have laid out the evidence for how effective mask wearing seems to be in the fight against the spread of COVID-19. I encourage you to check out their videos. Since theirs do such good jobs talking about the necessity of widespread mask usage, in this video I'll just mention my family's own mask wearing. Whenever my family shops for groceries in a store, rather than grocery delivery services, which we use much more frequently, or picks up to-go orders from one of the local restaurants we love, or purchases bottles of wine, as my family will probably be doing soon since the Jewish holidays are approaching, or picks up books at the contactless single-occupancy vestibule at the library, we always wear our masks. We also wear them when we're walking in urban areas where we might find ourselves without enough social distancing between people. And we are lucky to live in an area where masking is not only supported by the vast majority of the citizenry, but required by businesses that allow customers on their property. For the last couple of months, my son has been working a few hours a week in a music store where, when it first opened, customers scheduled appointments to meet the employee outside the shop where they could try out instruments before they bought. As Maryland starts to reopen in limited ways, the music store is allowing customers to enter the building, also in limited ways. On top of that, the store has offered my son more hours. So he's realized that the small number of masks we made in late March is not going to be enough. And I think we now realize that our days of mask wearing are going to stretch pretty far into the future, at least a year, and possibly quite a bit longer. Making some additional masks seems like a task we need to do soon. He, who is an experienced sewer, and I, who's basically a newbie, are planning a mask-making adventure for one day soon. And we've acquired some interesting fabric, too. Musical instruments, sheet music, Shakespeare's face, and a few assorted bookish fabrics, too. When we finish, I'll show some of our handiwork off here on this channel. So, onto the tag. The charge is to list 3 books in which a character either wears a mask, conceals something about themselves, or wears something protective on their head. In honor of ShakeTube 2020, all 3 of my answers will be from the works of Shakespeare. Although I gather that we can choose any of the 3 options to apply to our book choices, I'll do a section on each question. Shakespeare seems like a perfect author to use for this particular tag. If you're familiar with a lot of his plays, you'll know that many of his works rely on at least one and often all 3 of these tropes. And then on top of it, he was an author who had to live with the plague all around him. Sometimes the playhouses were closed because of the dangers of the disease. And even when they were open, issues not only of illness, but of contagion and quarantine show up fairly frequently in the plays of that era. I'll start with some literal mask wearing, an image we saw a few times in week 1 of the ShakeTube choices. The only reason Romeo can attend the ball at the Capulets is because it's a masked ball, and he can use the masquerade to disguise who he is. Shakespeare used masquerade balls in his comedies too, of course. I especially love the scene in Much Ado About Nothing, where Beatrice teases Benedict, pretending all the while that she is not aware she is speaking directly to him. The next tag possibility is characters who conceal something about themselves. Of course, this too is absolutely a central trope in Shakespeare. Two of my very favorite characters are Rosalind in As You Like It and Viola in Twelfth Night. Viola pretends to be a boy, copying her brother, a brother she assumes is dead. Viola basically takes on the role in order to acquire a safe place to stay. What she conceals is her true status as a woman, both in terms of self-definition as well as body. She's hiding the fact that she's a woman, and she's literally concealing her female genitalia and her lack of male genitalia. As she says while passing a Cesario, she is hiding, quote, how much I lack of a man. Interestingly, in Shakespeare's day, all the actors on stage were male, including the actor playing Viola, who was probably a prepubescent boy. So Shakespeare would have written the part for a young boy to play a girl who pretends to be a boy. Rosalind, in As You Like It, passes for a boy in order to allow her and her cousin to travel in the forest. That is, she's using masculine identity to give her some independence and some safety. She decides that she will, as the boy Ganymede, pretend to be the young friend of a man she loves, and that she, as the boy Ganymede, teaches Orlando to woo her properly. In the process, Ganymede pretends to be Rosalind. So Shakespeare wrote the part for a boy to play a girl pretending to be a boy pretending to be a girl. And of course now, Rosalind is typically played by a female actress. So we have a girl playing a part written for a boy, playing a girl, playing a boy, playing a girl. Follow that? And we really think playing with gender fluidity is a modern thing? And the final tag possibility is to list characters who wear something protective on their heads. Although it isn't hard to find Shakespeare characters who were probably wearing helmets, I want to talk about a different kind of protection, the protection that veils can be. In Twelfth Night, when Cesario is admitted to Olivia's chamber, she does not want to interact with men. The veil for her is a protection from the male gaze to keep men from looking at her against her will. The veil publicly announces that she is in mourning for her own dead brother, but at the same time, it allows Olivia to maintain a certain degree of privacy in her grief and sadness. We see a different kind of protection provided by veils near the end of Much Ado About Nothing. Hero and her close friends wear veils over their faces to conceal the bride from Claudio after he has accused her of disloyalty and thinks he was responsible for her death. In a sense, the veils are, I think, intended to protect the bride from misogyny, despite the fact that I think readers today, myself included, find this strategy to be an awful one. Still, it requires Claudio to let go of the power he abused because of his own misguided version of the male gaze. Now he has to show his submission and devotion, even if it seems to be targeted more at Hero's father than at Hero herself. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for this clever and important set of questions, Brian. As Brian says, you are all tagged. Please do the tag and spread the message about the importance of wearing a mask during the pandemic. Thanks for joining me here today on Hannah's Books. See you soon.